Welcome everyone to another week of the Focus TV. We got Xavier Wyatt here, Raymond Lyons. I'm Wilson Tarper Jr. We'll have Cardell joining us a little bit later, live from the ESA. We discuss Mystics. Liberty is the Washington Mystics are trying to, they're in the mix for trying to wrap up this last and final postseason spot. Ray and I talked about that a little bit after the last edition of Mystics Outlook. Get over to our Roku channel. You can check that out. As you know, they are still alive and in it. That said, Octavia, very fun week around the NFL. Everybody lost, everybody won. There are a couple teams we're going to get to a little bit later because everybody has not reached the winning column. So we're going to talk about those losing teams a little bit later. But Octavia, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I don't know about this week was fun, but I guess it happened. Yeah, like you said, there was a lot of parity in the NFL this week in both the NFC and the AFC. I would probably say mostly in the NFC. It was just a lot going on, and especially for the NFC East division. We will start with the only team that won in the division this week, and they happen to be playing against a division rival as well. So the Washington Commanders played against the New York Giants. They defeated the Giants 21-18. On Washington's side, Jaden Daniels was 23 of 29, 226 yards. He was sacked 5 times. He had 10 carries for 44 yards. Brian Robinson Jr. had 17 carries for 133 yards and 1 reception for 3 yards. And Zach Ertz had 4 receptions for 62 yards. On the Giants side, Daniel Jones was 16 of 28, 178 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 sack. 5 carries for 32 yards. Devin Singletary had 16 carries for 95 yards and 1 touchdown, 1 reception for 0 yards. Malik Neighbors had 10 receptions for 127 yards and 1 touchdown. And Wan'Dale Robinson had 2 receptions for 18 yards and 1 touchdown. For whatever reason, when the New York Giants and the Washington Commanders get together and play in a game, it's always weird. It's just always weird as hell. I don't know what happens. In this game, the New York Giants kicker Graham Gano was injured, so they were unable to go for any extra points. So they did score 2 touchdowns, but had to go for 2-point conversions on pretty much every time they scored, which were not successful. And then on the other side of it, you have the Washington Commanders who got in the red zone very frequently, but just could not score a touchdown. And with all of their kicking woes, we know they had a kicker in training camp. They released him. They traded for a kicker. They released him the week after. And now they have another kicker who actually came up pretty big for them. He scored all 21 of their points. I think they said that he was like 1 kick from being like having the record of the most field goals in a game at 8, which is just crazy. Like the Commanders that we literally were just talking about, who has no kicker, just had to go out there and do that. Good spots for the Washington Commanders. Their run game looked very good. Brian Robinson Jr. had a career day. He rushed for, again, 133 yards on 17 attempts. Jaden Daniels also, helped out in the rushing department as well. He ran for 44 yards. And Austin Eckler chipped in 38 yards on 8 rushes. It's probably the best their offensive line has looked in a very long time. They looked pretty decent on run blocking. And you guys know I always like to add a caveat. You have to remember playing against the Giants, and then you have to remember the Giants playing against the Commanders. But let them live, right? But it looked better. And, I mean, that's all you can really ask for. You can only play against the people who are in front of you. And that's what they did. Some of the things that, they definitely want to clean up. We talk about penalties a lot in the NFC East. But they also had some inopportune times of having penalties. It wasn't necessarily how many penalties they had. The Commanders were in the red zone 6 times and did not score a touchdown. They committed 5 procedural penalties in the red zone, pushing them back and forcing them to kick a field goal. It's, worth noting that Jaden Daniels, and, granted he's a rookie, got to give him grace in that aspect to some extent. Still has not thrown a touchdown in his first 2 games as an NFL starting quarterback. So And then to have 33-year-old Zach Ertz be the leading receiver when they, of course, traded away Jahan Dotson and have put a lot more faith in Diami Brown and, of course, Terry McLaurin. That's a little bit concerning, just not really getting them involved. But it seems like they're really focusing on their rushing attack right now and maybe slowly but surely work in the passing attack. I mean, Terry McLaurin had 6 receptions for 8 targets, but only 22 yards. So that they definitely got to get on the same page if they want to want to go far in the league. But all in all, it was an ugly win, but you'd rather have an ugly one than a pretty loss. So congratulations to them for winning. On the other side with the New York Giants, I get scared when I say this, but I feel like it was like kind of the best we've seen of Daniel Jones in a long time. And I'm a little scared to say that because I feel like anytime we might see like a small glimpse of something, then he just goes the opposite way, like real fast. And then again, these are the Washington Commanders. Let's also remember that as well. Daniel Jones was only sacked once. And we know the offensive line woes that the New York Giants have. So that was a little bit eye-opening. But then even on the other side of it, while Jaden McDaniels was sacked 5 times, the big-name defensive linemen that we talk about for the New York Giants, with Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence, as well as newly acquired Brian Burns, accounted for none of those sacks. They had 2 quarterback kicks, both by Thibodeau. All of their sacks came from linebackers or defensive backs, either blitzing or simply catching and scrambling behind the line of scrimmage. The previous week against Minnesota, the Giants had 1 sack, which was provided by Lawrence. Both Thibodeau and Burns, who both combined for 19.5 sacks in 2023, are currently sackless through 2 games this year. Again, it's 2 games. We try not to overreact to 2 games, but Brian Burns, the hype behind him coming to New York, that market's not going to be happy too much longer if it doesn't start to produce. So that's definitely something that they're going to need to solidify pretty quickly, as well as their run defense. The Giants allowed Washington to steamroll them on the ground to the tune of 215 yards rushing. The Commanders averaged 6.1 yards per attempt. As a result, they were able to hold the football for nearly 2/3 of the game, which, even saying that and thinking that the New York Giants still could have won this game, also shows you, again, the parity within this game. Malik Neighbors probably had his first breakout game. Again, 10 receptions, 127 yards, 1 touchdown. I'm sure he wishes he had 11 receptions and not 10. That drop at the end of the game really, you never want to put a loss solely on somebody. And we'll talk about another drop that happened at the end of a game as well. But that drop definitely took them out of contention, especially knowing that they do not have a kicker. They're in the process of, to be fair, I think sometimes these type of situations bring character. And he said exactly what needed to be said. He felt like he let his team down. He let his vets down. And to see how upset he was shows you how much it really means to him. And hopefully it's a situation that he grows from and he's able to know how important those times are. And I'm sure he's probably somewhere right now in a juggling machine and that's never going to happen again. He just seems like that type of player. But what would we be if the New York Giants didn't do some type of wild, crazy history stat that they become the only team that have ever done something? It's always them. It's 2 ones that I found in this one. Heading into this game, the Giants had not scored a touchdown on their opening drive in their previous 27 games. Yeah, I love your faces, guys. Yes, they finally were able to get that monkey off of their shoulder in this game. So kudos to them for finally scoring an opening series touchdown in their past 27 games. But then on the other side of it, the Giants also became the first team in NFL history to score 3+ touchdowns and allow no touchdowns and lose in regulation. This is just the gift that keeps on giving when it comes down to the New York Giants. It's always something crazy with them. The New York Giants next game will be against the Browns on Sunday. Their defense is starting to kind of heat up a little bit after their lackluster performance, of course, in week 1. And then the Washington Commanders will take on the Bengals on Monday Night Football. It's going to be a doubleheader on Monday night. I can't think of the 7 o'clock game, but they'll have 2 games on Monday. They'll be playing against the Bengals in Cincinnati, who was also coming off of a loss of a game that they probably should have won. So them being 0-2, and I don't know if you saw the clips. Jamar Chase has been hot. He's been hot since the off season, and we'll see if that translates into, a breakout game for him coming up. These next 2 games, I'm gonna keep it real, real short and simple because it's get a little crazy when we get to these next 2. Okay, and I'm going to preface myself when I say this. I am not trying to be funny at all. I swear to God, I did not see this coming at all. The Dallas Cowboys playing against the New Orleans Saints. They lost to the Saints 44-19. Dak Prescott was 27 of 39, 293 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 3 sacks, 2 carries for 12 yards. Rico Dowdle had 7 carries for 30 yards, 4 receptions for 29 yards. And CeeDee Lamb had 4 receptions for 90 yards and 1 touchdown. So when I say I really did not see it coming, I mean that wholeheartedly. I play in a pick'ems league every week. I confidently picked the Cowboys, like not even trying to be funny. I confidently picked them. I don't know what happened. I don't think they know what happened either. I know in the past couple of years there has been a little bit of a side eye at their run defense. But baby, Alvin Kamara did whatever he wanted the entire game. It looks like they were allergic to Alvin Kamara. Like, oh, he's over there. I'm going to go the opposite way. I don't know what it was. It was a lot of motion and things that were just, they just weren't there. It was just bad. It was so bad to the point, I watched NFL Red Zone, like they just stopped cutting to their game. And I was like, what is happening? I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Especially because last week the Saints played against the Panthers. Yeah, they beat the Panthers like 47-3 or 47-10, something like that. It's the Panthers, so you got to give it a little bit of like, okay, we'll see what happens. And I really thought that this was going to be a really good game. I know the Las Vegas Raiders wish they had Derek Carr right now, but it's showing that he has a lot of resurgence coming through in this game. But yeah, Dallas was just, they were biting on a lot of the play action. Defensive tackles were losing their gap responsibilities, and the second level players were getting exposed on outside stretch tosses. It gave a lot of last year playoff game loss. It gave a lot of similarities to that. And then on the offensive side, they were insistent on early downs, running the ball, which forced them into 13 third down situations, 5 less than the Saints. Dallas converted 6 of them, giving them a respectable 46% conversion rate. But on a day where the opponent scored touchdowns on each of their first 6 possessions, just being efficient on third down wasn't going to cut it for them. The Cowboys' early down rushing success was just 25%, while passing was more digestible, 43%. I mean, like I said, CeeDee Lamb was 4 receptions for 90 yards and 1 touchdown, but he had 7 targets. I mean, Jalen Tolbert had 9. I don't know why I'm passing the ball to Jalen Tolbert more than I am CeeDee Lamb, although I understand it because CeeDee Lamb is the focus of all defenses. But it was just a bad showing. I don't really want to get too in the weeds with them and just think like, oh, same old Cowboy season's over. I do think the Saints are surprisingly going to be a really good team this year, which is why I don't want to play them next week. But I guess I don't have a choice. But yeah, it was just bad. I mean, if you really want to say again, saving grace, they got a really good kicker. Really good kicker. But it really still shows that they still need more weapons outside of CeeDee. Ezekiel Elliott had a decent showing in week 1, goes to week 2, 6 carries for 16 yards. 2 receptions for 16 yards. Not going to cut it. Jalen Tolbert, 6 receptions for 82 yards. I mean, Brandon Cooks had 2 receptions for 19 yards. They need more. I don't know what they're going to do to get it. You know, we talked about it all offseason that they didn't do much to bring in any more dynamic, explosive players. They relied heavily on what they had. And it didn't look good. You know, a lot of those conversations on the sideline between Dak and Mike McCarthy and Micah Parsons and Zimmerman didn't look too promising, you know, and definitely I'll give Dak a little grace on one of his interceptions. You know, the wide receiver tripped over his own feet and the ball just happened to land right in the breadbasket of the Saints defender. But yeah, they got to get back to the drawing board and get it together. And it shouldn't get easier this week, even though the team that they're going to be playing this week is also going through their own struggles as well. They'll be playing against the Baltimore Ravens Sunday, 4:25. And the Ravens are 0-2. Like Wilson said, I'm sure we'll get to a lot of these teams that lost this week. The Ravens being one of those who are 0-2, along with the Cincinnati Bengals, like we just talked about as well, who will play against the Commanders. I don't know if I said who. Oh yeah, the Giants play the Browns, and yeah, so they definitely got to hit it pretty quickly. And then last but not least, as you guys know, how much I detest when my team plays on prime time. And it happened again. I'm hopeful that that's it for the year. You know, we finally got a 1:00 game on a Sunday where everybody can watch everybody else but us. But the Philadelphia Eagles played Monday night against the Atlanta Falcons, and they lost to the Falcons 22-21. Jalen Hurts was 23 of 30, 183 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He was sacked 1 time. He had 13 carries for 85 yards and 1 rushing touchdown. Saquon Barkley had 22 carries for 95 yards, 4 receptions for 21. And Devontae Smith had 7 receptions for 76 yards and 1 touchdown. It's, of course, worth noting A.J. Brown did not play in this game with a hamstring injury. I was talking to Wilson before we came on tonight. There's so many injuries in the league. It's bananas. Anything from your hamstring to your ankle. These players are not, it's not working. The ankles, the calves, the Achilles, and the hamstrings are messing these players up. So he didn't play, and you could tell right off the back that they were going to try to replace him with a committee of players. Britton Covey, Jahan Dotson, I think, had his first reception as the Eagle. Grant Calcaterra got a lot more involved in it. And I think this game just really came down to poor decision making a lot. You know, it was just a lot of bad decisions in times. You know, the very first opening series where they get all the way down to like the 10-yard line or whatever it was, and to go for it on 4th and 4 when you should just kick a field goal. I don't understand it. And then in the fourth quarter, you do the opposite. It's just weird. But again, with all of that happening, they still had a chance to win the game. I talked about Malik Neighbors not catching the ball. We had a vet in Saquon Barkley, who I'm definitely not going to kill in this because it's Saquon Barkley and we saw what he can do. Same with Malik Neighbors, of course, but of course not the same pedigree and the same longevity. But that's a catch he's got to have. You know, that catch, he's in the end zone, and we're looking at a different situation possibly. The defense in that final drive, like, to be fair, it doesn't even surprise me anymore because it's happened so frequently. Like, I think I saw a stat this morning that said, like, I forget how many games it was, but like the Eagles have allowed like 140 points in like the last 4 minutes of a fourth quarter. Like over, I can't remember how many a period of games it was, but it was just a crazy stat. I don't know what it is at the end of the game. Yeah, that just looks so terrible. Lord, this picture is just, it's sending me somewhere. It's like, God, Jesus, help me. Yeah, I mean, I will say positives if you want to say positives. Jalen finally looked a little bit back to himself with running the ball. Last week, I don't think he looked comfortable, and we know he didn't look comfortable for majority of last year. He did have a couple of big runs that helped him out. But I will say some of those I still wish it went to Saquon. You know, Saquon started off really good. I think he was averaging like 9 yards a carry in that first or second series that they had. But it just comes down to that decision making. I mean, an interception that didn't need to be an interception by Jalen, you know, a catch that Saquon should have caught. A lot of penalties on the offensive line with too many men down the field just based off of, you know, the run play option, not knowing if they're throwing it or if they're handing it off. It just seems a bit messy. So to lose to the Atlanta Falcons, not really get any pressure on a quarterback who's coming off of an Achilles injury and is long in the tooth is kind of concerning with our defensive line. When you think about Hassan Reddick is just sitting down somewhere and just losing money for no reason. When you think about stuff like that, you know, we sacked Kirk Cousins one time. It just looks junky, you know. So hopefully they're able to get back to the drawing board and figure something out. I mean, because as bad as it is, you know, as bad as the situation is with, you know, what Nick Sirianni says, what he doesn't say, who he blames it on, who he doesn't blame it on, did he make the call, did Kellen Moore make the call, whatever. They lost the game by 1 point. So it's a small margin, but it's something that they have to clean up ASAP. But I will say also that I'm kind of okay with the loss just because it takes the pressure off of being perfect to a certain extent. You know, the last couple of years they started 3, 4, 5-0, and it becomes a lot of pressure. Get the one loss out the way, and let's move forward. But like I said, I don't necessarily wish we had to move forward with the game that we have this week. We're in that period where the NFC East is going to rotate, playing everybody in the NFC South. And I guess it's our turn to play against Alvin Kamara, and watching what Bijan Robinson did as well yesterday doesn't give me much hope as far as stopping Alvin Kamara. Bijan Robinson, 14 carries, 97 yards, 4 receptions, 25 yards. I mean, Tyler Algier had 9 carries for 53 yards. You know, they did 150 yards rushing as well. Jalen Carter's got to get together. He's got to keep his head on straight. He was actually, I read that he was benched for the first defensive series because he was late to a team activity during the week. Can't have stuff like that. He had a costly penalty in week 1 as well, not keeping his temper. Of course, they always catch the second guy. But he has to realize that he is going to be the vet soon. Granted, he's like in his second or third year, whatever it is, he's going to be considered the vet, and he's going to have to hold his composure a lot better than what he's been doing. But all in all, it was a crazy week in the NFL all around. I'm sure we'll get to it. But we'll see what happens in the NFCs next week.
Yeah, not only the NFCs, but the league.
The NFC, the AFC, everywhere. It's wild.
It's fun times, man. Losses for everybody. Some teams are winless. Again, we're going to get to some of that soon. We're going to check on the Mystics, then take a break. After that, you're watching the Focus TV. We will return shortly. Washington Mystics coming off Sunday's game. Big one tonight against Liberty. They got another one this week, another one later this week against the Fever, trying to wrap up things for their 8th and final playoff spot. Not in the right direction tonight in this one is the New York Liberty playoff team, holding on for team trying to get to the playoffs. 87-71. Cardell, you were in the building. Hey, walk us through it.
You saw the difference between the team ramping up, getting ready to try to make a push for the championship, and the team that looks like they're headed for the lottery. You know, to be honest, you know what I mean. It was a clinic for most of the game, and I say most of the game only because she took the dogs out, you know, her horses out. Talking about the Liberty late in the game, obviously to prevent any super injuries from occurring or anything like that. But it was a clinic from the opening tip, man. The way the Liberty was moving the ball, their defense, Lord, I mean, their defense was ferocious, man. The Mystics The Mystics couldn't find any daylight. They couldn't turn a corner. They blitzed Sykes and Atkins with traps. Basically Van Lou too. Any ball handler, they blitzed them with traps, made them pick the ball up. I mean, they didn't even allow them to dribble the ball out. They teach you when you get blitzed to keep your dribble and dribble out to bring the defense out and to make it harder for them to have to recover from hedging out or whatever. And then you can find an open player or you can go one-on-one because now you got daylight. They couldn't even do that. They was blitzing them so hard and so fast and with such efficiency that the ball handlers were just stuck. They couldn't even dribble out, and they had to just pick the ball up and just find somebody. And that just stagnated the Mystics offense, man. And, once you do that, teams normally start pressing. That's what you saw with the Mystics, bad shots, turnovers. And if you turn the ball over against the Liberty, it gets ugly quick. And that's why you saw the first quarter, they outscored 29-18, and the Mystics never really recovered. I thought Stewie just let the game come to her, honestly. She had a double-double with 15 and 10, but her defense, literally guarding 1 through 5, was ridiculous, man. And, you saw John Quayle doing what she does, spreading the floor. She totally took Dolson out of the game. They did not allow Dolson to even set up, let alone hit her trailing threes or threes at the top of the key. It just took the Mystics completely out of their comfort zone. And Atkins was the only one that could get something going. She was the only one. And she was the only one that was just fighting. Sykes got banged up in the third and had to be taken out. She was holding her hip or whatnot. She was the only one that was kind of creating in the first half, just trying to make something happen, get to the line, getting fouled or whatnot. But outside of that, man, it was tough going for everybody else, man. The points, the shot selection were few and far in between, man. And you just saw, to be honest, just keeping it real, man. You just saw a team that's in a totally different class, compared to the Mystics. You just see how far the Mystics have to go. At times, it was tough to watch. It was very tough to watch, man. And, they made a push in the third when Atkins got hot, hit a few threes. Dolson finally hit the 3. They got it down to 7. But that was, that was when John Quayle and all those ladies were on the bench. They thought the game was over. Then they came back in, got it back up to 20. And that was all she wrote, man. So it was just a clean, man. You can't have 18 turnovers and allow the Liberty to score 25 points off those 18 turnovers. Get outscored 50-18 in the paint. And then get outscored bench-wise 40-23. I can't point to nothing that the Mystics did better than the Liberty tonight. And that's why we have the result that we have.
Right.
Yeah, man, it's really not much to talk about. The Liberty just put foot to ass, man. It is what it is. They pressed their advantages. They out-rebounded them handily. They turned them over, got out in the open court, and just made the game real simple. As they should with being the team in the position they're in, number 1 seed. They're eyeing the championship, like Cardell pointed out. And the Mystics they're just in a completely different situation. And yeah, it was just matchup nightmares all around. The area where the Mystics usually are able to make up the difference is with their bench production, and their bench was completely outclassed. So that's why we get the result we get. Typically it's the Mystics bench outscoring the other team's bench by 20 plus. Just wasn't the case tonight. They just couldn't get anything going. And Atkins and Sykes, they were trying to get something going and get some life, but they were just overwhelmed. It is what it is, man. And yeah, now they're Mystics are in a tough spot regarding this AC. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, tonight it was just a thorough beating.
Yeah, Cardell, like Cardell mentioned, Ray, you cited too. They're the number 1 seed for a reason. And like you said, this is down the stretch while some teams on the opposite end, they're trying to sneak into the postseason, clinch a spot. it is time to ramp things up and start playing with that type of intensity you need to try to go on the run you expect to make. Got to remember this the runners up, right? These are the runners up. It's that time of year. We knew coming off of Sunday they were going to be on one after they lost to the Lynx, which I'm sure they were embarrassed about that performance. Washington was going to get if not you had the Liberty's full attention, even though it had nothing to do with you because of their performance against Minnesota. Like most of this is because of what happened in Minnesota. But yeah, you saw a team at the top and a team at the bottom going through what they went through, trying to get the last spot. Like Ray said, now you need a lot of help. And we'll see how things play out over the next couple of days. But the final games against the Fever, you still got to take care of business, put yourself in the best situation. But as far as this one goes, number one seed came into your building and did what a number one seed is supposed to do. If you guys had nothing to add, I will ask you all about player of the game.
To me, it's Stewie. I know 18 and 10 is pedestrian for her, but somebody need to do a highlight on how she played defense. Like it was bad. Like they couldn't even. She was the one blitzing them. She and John Quell times, but she's the one blitzing Missy's guards, Van Loo, Atkins, and Sykes. They really couldn't turn the corner. And then even when they tried to pass out of it, she was getting a hand on it and making the passes tough. And then they of course like Ingles and Kone and those that have to run out and get the ball and they way out past 3-point line. It just totally disrupted their offense, and it started with Stewie, man. And that's why it's like her and Asia Wilson, 1A, 1B is the top players in the game. You just saw it all on display in every aspect of the game.
Right.
Yeah, no, I second that. It wasn't about her numbers tonight for me. Just all the things she did to completely throw the Mystics off kilter. Yeah, man, they do a lot of pick and rolls and things like that, but they couldn't get into none of those actions tonight because of Stewie's versatility on defense.
Yeah, third that as well. Again, it looked a little bit like Team USA Stewie that we saw there in the summer, a little bit just flying around defensively, just being just an insane level of an agitator. Because again, you have John Quell who moves better than most bigs anyways. Think about the freedom you have with Stewie. You could really go blow stuff up. You're paired with another big who can cover your ground. And again, that's how long Washington's bigs. Their athletic bigs weren't available tonight. Outside of Kone, stuff. Go ahead, Cardell.
Think about this. There was a time where we were like INS school and Vandersloot were food defensively. That's dead, dog. That's dead. That's dead, man. Nah, you can't say that no more. It's totally dead, man. So hell of a performance, man. Totally.
Again, the runner-ups trying to gear up to get it done. And they look like a team focused on doing just that. X Factor tonight.
Leonie Fibic off the bench, 13 points. 6 and 9. She gave him fits, man.
Right?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, she came in and did her thing, man.
Yeah, man, it's always fun watching the team ramp up, even sometimes that hurts that it's the home team they had to go through it or whatnot, but Liberty looking like what they're supposed to look like. Again, it's the number one seed.
Right.
That's what you're supposed to look like heading into the playoffs, and they came out with that type of intensity. Again, for Washington, you need some help or whatnot. It's not officially done or anything like that in terms of something going in your favor at the moment. The Sky are down to the Dream 65-54. So again, like that whole three-way thing at the bottom of the thing, we're only going to know what it looks like when the dust settles over the next couple of days or what have you. But as of right now, Washington is still alive. We'll see how things go, but we'll check with you guys Thursday night after they host the Indiana Fever at Capital One. Welcome back. And again, the Mystics have one more game following this one, and we'll see how things shape up. Maybe they'll get the help they need. Lead time will tell. All right, take it or leave it this week. We got some NFL things to address. I'm sorry. Some teams do need to adjust, but to address, take it or leave it. We're going to start here. Tua suffered another concussion in this week's game against the Bills. Dolphins QB has suffered multiple concussions now in his career. They have put him on IR, where he can't return until at least week 8. Take it or leave it that Tua should continue his NFL playing career. Ray, we'll start with you.
Leave it, man. So please just exit stage left. Take your 124 mil or whatever it is, and go live your life. It's just a scary situation to see somebody get that many concussions. Like, one is scary, but to have the amount that he's had in a short period of time, like, and you only get more susceptible to them as you go on. So, yeah, man, they should force him to retire, like, because this is just it's just not good for his health. And I don't understand the decision he made on that play to get said concussion, but nevertheless, man, it's just it's time to wrap it up, man. We've been seeing guys just kind of bow out early in recent years, and I think he should be one of them.
Octavia, what say you?
Yeah. As one of my favorite rappers, Nicki Minaj, says, "Hang it up, flat screen." It's you gotta go. It's especially because like Ray just said, like, the more you have, the more susceptible you are to them. And even the force that he was hit in this one wasn't that bad, so it's already showing that it's becoming easier and easier for him to be concussed, and there's just not, it's not worth it, and I get it. It's got to be a completely tough decision to do, especially with all of the talk behind him from when he was in college to when he first got drafted. He wasn't good enough. Does he deserve this money? And he's trying to prove himself that he does and that he can be a great quarterback. But it's not worth the quality of life that you're risking to have this. And I mean, and what a coincidence on the other side of that was DeMar Hamlin, being the one that's involved in that. And he literally died on the field, and every time I see a replay of this hit with Tua, and I've learned that they've called this a fencing position whenever you're concussed, like when your hands are all like twisted up and stuff. It's scary. And just like Ray said too, like, I do think that the NFL may need to step in, not only, and I mean, firstly, it should be for his health, number one, but not only for that, but for the reputation of the league. You have people who are playing primetime games. Everybody in the world is watching it. And you have people that are getting concussed to this point where, there are a lot of parents who are already saying, my kid's not playing tackle football. I'm not going to allow it. You don't want that to continuously be what's being put across the screen every day. I mean, like, I feel like when it happened to him 2 years ago, like, it was on CNN, like, it's going to be everywhere. So they have to think of it from both perspectives. But like I said, number one, from the perspective of health for Tua, I think it's already come out and said that he has no plans on retiring. And I mean, God bless him and Godspeed. And I hope, I sincerely hope he does not get any more concussions. He might need to put on that Guardian cap they out there playing with. Like, he got to do something, because it's getting really, really scary for him.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I'm at the point. I'm just seriously worried about the quality of his life. Like, you got the big contract. Say what's guaranteed is guaranteed. That is generational wealth. More importantly, like, what's the point if you're not here to enjoy, your life, like, sir? And this was obviously it's, every collision is like a car crash in the NFL, but this one was he hit DeMar Hamlin. You know, like a lot of players like kind of like pull back when they're about to hit quarterbacks. Looked like he hit DeMar Hamlin, then he wasn't, you know, he was the one that was concussed. It was really, really tough to see. All right, on to the next one. We got Colorado play Colorado State this week in college football. Last year, Colorado State lost to Colorado 43-35, and somewhat of an exciting affair. You know, people stayed up and watched it, yada, yada, year one. Colorado. An interview from Media Day with the local TV station, his social media ahead of this week's game, where Colorado State quarterback Braden Fowler Nicolosi said, I think it goes to show that the hype, the media train, it only gets you so far. At the end of the day, you have to line up 11 guys against our 11 guys. And we'll find out who wants it more. We'll see how far Instagram followers gets them. End quote. Sanders threw for 310 yards and 4 touchdowns. Folks were making a big deal about Shedeur not shaking hands with the Colorado State quarterback following the game, even though he did shake hands with other Colorado State players. Take it or leave it. You know, was this a display of poor character? Not a big deal, or just sports? Octavia, we'll start with you.
I'm on the fence. You know, I feel like you got to be, if you're able to dish it out, you got to be able to take it, you know, and that's on both sides. While I'm definitely a proponent of sportsmanship, I'm also with the games too. Like sometimes, you know, you play stupid games, win stupid prizes. You know, if you bold enough to go out there and talk about it, go out there and be about it too. But I do think sometimes it gets a little bit carried away at this age, at this time and age that we are in like collegiate sports, like because a lot of them are getting NIL money. They have a lot of more celebrity than they would have in the past. I do sometimes think it gets a little bit arrogant in these situations because let's be honest, it's Colorado and Colorado State. Like it's not like it's Alabama, you know, Florida. You can't even say Florida State at this point. They don't even exist. But I'm saying like your power big SEC schools. So I mean, but I get it. You gotta, you know, pump up yourself the way it is. I think it's a little bit of much to do about nothing, especially because at this point we know what you're gonna get from Shedeur Sanders. I mean, like you might not like it, but you know what you're gonna get. At least he's consistent with what he's gonna do. But it's a little bit much to do about nothing. But it's a little bit of. I do wish it kind of like calmed down a little bit.
Ray, your thoughts on Shedeur not shaking hands with the guy who was talking for Media Day?
It's a non-issue for me. Yeah, you talking crazy like that, I probably wouldn't shake a hand either. Like, what do we have to address each other for? Like Octavia said, I get the whole sportsmanship angle, but at that level, I don't think it's, you know, that particular situation wasn't a thing for me. Like he did acknowledge other players on the team. Yeah, I don't think you have to acknowledge who people want you to. But yeah, it's this whole thing is getting a little WWE-ish for me.
Yeah.
Just play football. You know, and as far as Colorado goes, like to this point, they've overpromised and underdelivered. So your focus should be elsewhere. But that's another conversation for another day. But yeah, on the surface side, this is just one of those things I saw and just kind of skimmed over.
Yeah, I just think people are bored. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about something this week. It was a close game, sure, but clearly it wasn't, which meant all those words were pointless and meaningless because you said all that and then got dog walked. So, and again, to Octavia's point, it's Colorado State. Who was really watching? All right, Panthers quarterback Bryce Young has been benched in favor of veteran Andy Dalton ahead of this weekend's game against the Las Vegas Raiders. This makes Young the first quarterback selected number 1 overall in the common draft era, that means since 1967, to be benched for non-injury reasons. The Panthers are 0-2 and have been outscored 73-13 through the first 2 weeks. Take it or leave it. Mistake drafting Young, or the Panthers just unserious as an organization. Ray, will start with you, and then Octavia.
Ooh, this one might be down the middle, man.
All of the above.
Yeah, because as far as the Panthers go, I don't think they've had a successful QB since Cam. You know, on the flip side, yeah, he's in a bad situation, but Bryce Young, he just doesn't look like he's ready for this level, to be perfectly honest. You know, like we've seen good QBs with not a lot around them at least look semi-competent at some point. That just hasn't been the case. Yeah, it's tough to go to a situation like that. But yeah, just to get benched at this point, it's no way you can go back to him after this. Like it's a wrap for that. So yeah, they're going to continue to to be an unserious franchise, like you said.
Xavier and Bryce being benched for Andy Dalton.
Yeah, this one is definitely an all of the above. Take and leave, leave and take. It's everything. Because one, while yes, Bryce Young does not look like he knows what he's doing. Let's just be real with that. He also doesn't have a lot around him to help him possibly look like he could maybe know what he's doing. You take him number 2 overall. I mean, you let Brian Burns go. DJ's been gone. I mean, Adam Thielen, for God's sake, is his number 1 wide receiver. And I don't think they drafted anybody on the offensive line to protect my man. And you already know he's kind of on the smaller side of quarterbacks. So in that aspect, it's I don't know what the Panthers thought they were doing. But then on the other side, I understand for the morale of the team that this isn't working. We got to switch. Andy Dalton's not going to be the savior either. But with a veteran quarterback, you might accidentally win a couple of games, right? Then you take yourself out of the running for possibly getting a good quarterback. So it's like, I don't understand what they're doing on. That's what I said. It's literally both. I don't understand it from any aspect, because at this point, just say I mean, I think they said the day before they actually benched him, like, Bryce is our guy. We're going to work with him. We're going to make sure he's prepared. We're going to do that. And then like 24 hours later, like, actually, I watched the tape. We're going to go with Andy Dalton. But then I don't know what you do. Like Ray said too, like you sit him down, like, what do you do? Bring him back in if Andy Dalton gets hurt? Like then what do you do? At this point, if you're going to do that, you might as well try to offload him and trade him somewhere. And I also understand with a new coach and a new GM, this isn't their guy. So I get that aspect of it, but I just don't get logistically, if this isn't your guy, how do you think that, unless they think Andy Dalton's still trash enough that they're not going to win any games. Maybe that's what they think too. I don't know. Because I don't know how you think, let's win more or try to win more and then finesse our way into a top pick after we just did that 2 years ago and got finessed out of everything. And yeah, I don't know what they're doing. I feel for you, Panthers fans. I have a lot of friends from my time in North Carolina who are Panthers fans. And one of them actually reposted the post he made the day of the draft. And he literally said, Panthers, please draft CJ Stroud. I know you guys are talking about Bryce, but please draft CJ Stroud. And even looking on all his comments, there were so many people like, nah, Bryce is the guy. So it was just kind of funny that he was like, I told you guys. So they're going through it down there. I think tickets are like $25 for like the front row. It's a little tough. So I don't know what they're gonna do.
Yeah, I feel bad for Bryce, number one pick. You know what comes with it. Like Ray said, you can't be that bad. At the same time, just remind you where he got drafted and what they've done from a talent acquisition and talent. What's the right way to say when you get rid of talent? I don't even know, man. That's what they did. All right, so they traded for him, right? They gave up DJ Moore, the 9th overall pick, the 61st overall pick in that draft, the 2024 first overall pick, the 2025 second. They traded Brian Burns of the Giants for peanuts for 2024 second and the 2025 fifth. The year before that, they donated Christian McCaffrey to the Niners for a 2023 second, third, and fourth, and a 2024 fourth. All right, so those three players, those sound like those sounds like pillars to a franchise for a young quarterback, right? All gone. He comes in, you trying to whatever you call yourself doing, this what it is. And my whole thing is kind of like, even if they got CJ here, maybe CJ doesn't do as bad, but there's nothing here. Like this is bad. Like you whiffed on your O-line picks. You whiffed on a lot. And it's not to say Bryce would do just as good in Houston, but the floor would be higher because everything's functional in Houston. D'Amico's a damn good coach. Laramie Tunsil's a top 10, top 15 left tackle? That's where it's somebody who can be like, hey, someone's not coming to hit me through right there. There's a structure in place, but yeah, shout out to the Panthers, and that's tough. And like Ray said, you can't go back now. So now the other side of this is what happens next year when he ends up as a reclamation project somewhere for a good team for nothing, and y'all are still the Panthers, and somebody gets Bryce Young, just not as broken. Who knows? All right, but rapid fire. I don't know if you guys knew about this one. I found out about this accidentally. Apparently, Chicago White Sox are on the verge of history or infamy, depending on how you want to look at it. Their 2024 season is something like a long line of blunders and bad news bears montages. They're currently 36 and 115. All right, y'all, one more time. Octavia, you talked about Ray and our faces earlier. All right, look, 36 and 115. It is possible they could reach 121 losses. If they, in fact, do that, that would allow them to pass the 1962 New York Mets for the most losses in a season since the dawn of the 20th century. Thoughts on if they reach the record and how the players who became a part of history wear that burden or weight? Octavia, let's start with you.
Oh, you don't want to be on that team. Oh, geez. I mean, the picture itself is just giving. I mean, to sell the team in the back, especially with everything that's going on with the Oakland A's and, how they're getting moved and sold, whatever they're doing. This is just bad, like it's real bad. And then like the other thing that I associate with the White Sox is when, what's his name? Is Tim something got 2-piece and knocked out. I was like, come on, bro. It's getting bad out there for them. What is it? The south side of Chicago? But for selfish reasons, I want to see it happen just because it's like, dang, that really happened. That's a lot of losing. And that's got to mess with your psyche at some point. Like, how do you get out of the bed? I mean, granted, I say that bad. I won't say how do you get out of the bed because you're still getting paid. Baseball people make lots and lots and lots of money. So I see why you still get out the bed even though you're losing. But still, internally, your male ego, your pride and all that stuff, like that's got to be tough. Like I probably wouldn't even go outside. I'd probably just go to the baseball game and go home. Don't walk around Chicago. Don't think nobody going to buy you a beer because it ain't going to happen. And hopefully their management just blows it up because obviously that is just a terrible, terrible, terrible thing. It's bad.
Keep in mind, they have 115 losses, 162 games in the baseball season.
It's a lot of games.
Right. Your thoughts on 35? I'm sorry, 36. Let me not take that one away. 36, 115.
Yeah, man, go ahead and lose them 6 more games or whatever. Like, I'm here for history on either side of it. But yeah, the guys on that roster right now, boy, you do not want to be a Jeopardy answer. And yeah, this picture is hilarious because I don't know what the batter is doing. Then that sign in the background, and my man number 28 just looking like he don't want to be there. Yeah, this is just all around bad, man. This is yeah, you summed it up perfectly. Bad news bears. That's exactly what's happening right now. But yeah, I had no knowledge of this. I'm glad you brought it up. Now I'm gonna be tuning in every day to see how this ends up.
But what's also crazy too is that it was something else with them about to hit history earlier this year. I think it was like how many games they lost in a row. It was like 20 something, or it was probably more than that. And I think they almost beat the record and they ended up winning the game and they didn't hit the record. It was something along that earlier this year because I listened to a lot of like sports radio and they were talking about it and I was like, dang.
They missed it by a game in reference.
Yeah.
The record was 17 consecutive losses, which was by the Detroit Tigers in 1996. And it was a home losing streak. The White Sox lost 16 straight.
Yeah, they were like one game away. Everybody was like, and they fought it off. So maybe they'll do their best to fight this one off.
But
come on, man. I need one piece of bad history this year. The Wizards,
if you're not going to do something, at least make some type of history.
Yeah, man. What was the Wizards thing? When Kyle Kuzma was talking about the Pistons, like don't be that team, and they had a chance to like break the record for most consecutive losses, and it was going to be against the Pistons, but they won a game. Right? Come on, man. Somebody give me one. Somebody gotta give me one this year.
That's a tough crowd. Y'all are a tough crowd. Somebody fit run through the tape.
Nah, you gotta see it at this point. It's too much teasing.
I'm really mad at both of y'all talking about she got to see it through. We're talking about Jeopardy questions. Nobody wants to be here. The Pac-12, return of the Pac-12 possibly. Last Wednesday, news came out the Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, and San Diego State will leave the Mountain West Conference and join Oregon State and Washington State in the Pac-12 prior to the start of the 2026-2027 academic year. When Oregon State and Washington State sued the Pac-12 last year for control of the conference board in wake of 8 schools departing, and most of those schools went to the Big Ten, a couple went to the ACC. Because of suing them, they were able to kind of hold off, like it still exists this year, where the Pac-12 didn't fold, even though they only have 2 teams in it. That allowed them to hold things off for just a little bit. So the NCAA requires conferences to have at least 8 members, and after the Pac-12 fell apart, it was afforded a 2-year grace period to exist below the minimum. Thoughts on the Pac-12 making somewhat of a return after losing several big schools to the Big Ten? And do you think they're going to be able to add anybody else to this little merry group of not 8 teams? You know, because you are still below the requirement, right?
Let it go, man. It's not the Pac-12. Like, what are we doing here? I don't even like. Once the NCAA started messing with conferences and all that stuff, like I just kind of tapped out, man. Like it's just not the same. Like, yeah, this is not the Pac-12. This is some bastardized version of it. Like the premier team is Washington State. Like, what are we doing here? Just wrap it up, man. Let it go.
I'd say,
man, I was gonna give them a little bit of hope. Just a tad bit. I mean, didn't they just added like 2 or 3 teams recently, so they got a little bit of interest. They might be able to pull another 2, you know, in the next year. You never know. Maybe somebody wants an opportunity, but I don't think we're going to care either way. I don't think whoever they decide to put in this league nobody's going to be knocking down the door to go watch a Pac-12 game. So, I mean, good luck. That's all I got for them is Good luck. Godspeed. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with Ray, man. Call it something different. Just call it something different. Like the Pac-12 died last year, man. It's cool. Like there's no more Pac-12 at night. There's no more. Just it's cool. It was a great run. Just call this whatever you want to call it. But these teams right here, that is nobody's Pac-12.
Oh man,
It is offensive. This is something that you can't even do on NCAA 25. The video game will tell you you're doing wrong. Like they'd be like, go get a couple big schools. Like we just talked about Colorado State earlier. And in the Pac-12, and again, I'm not trying to bag on them, but it's unserious. It just doesn't look right. Like, and it's not the knock on the Mountain West, but now, what does that do to the Mountain West?
nothing.
Why didn't y'all just go join the Mountain West?
They don't want to let go.
Like, bro, as soon as UNC, Stanford, and Oregon was like, to the Big Ten we go, and if the Big Ten didn't extend you an invite, just leave. It's okay. No one's home. Turn the lights off. Find somewhere else to go. You could have all went to the Mountain West, and we would have never known. Nobody would have cared. Everyone would have been fine. It would have been cool. Maybe you made a run next year. You've been like, cool story, bro. The team from the Mountain West. But this is embarrassing. Like, I'm going to say, oh, this is not my father's Pac-12. What is this? This is not Reggie Bush's Pac-12.
Oh, Reggie. Dang.
Like, that's what makes me think about the Pac-12. There's no USC, no Oregon, no Stanford. Not to knock these fine establishments, but come on, man. Y'all, like Ray said, man, that's a bastardized version of the Pac-12, man. Just take, like, they shouldn't be allowed to use the logo. Like, do a super conference with the Mountain West. Call it the Friends Out West. I don't care what you want to call it, but just that's disrespectful. It's the Pac-12 and you don't have 12 teams. You don't even have 8 teams yet.
That's what I said. Just call them the Pack.
You know what? I'm fine with that. But
just the Pack or the little Pack. The baby Pack.
Hey, the baby pack is crazy. It might be appropriate, but like Ray said, NCAA got to chill, man. Like, y'all moving stuff too much. Like, it's just weird, man. It's just so weird. But I want to thank y'all for tuning in this week. We look forward to catching up with y'all next week. Obviously, we'll have more for you guys. We'll be headed into the WNBA playoffs come that time. Obviously, week 3 of the NFL. We can only imagine what that's going to hold for everyone's team because everyone is living and dying with, for whatever reason, through 2 weeks of a 17-game season. I need all of y'all to relax. Shout out to the Washington Commanders. You have pole position in the NFC East through 2 weeks. We'll see what changes in the next 2 weeks in the NFC East because y'all's division is always very, very fun.
Weird.
Hey, man, fun times for everybody, man. Shout out to Marvin Harrison Jr. for, Colorado threw him the ball. He did stuff. Great.
No, I played it with him in fantasy. No.
Okay, I'm sorry. So you didn't enjoy it. Some people did.
No, I was like, the game just started. How does he have 30 points? God damn. And I was playing against Kyler Murray too. I think I still won, but I don't know how. Bless
the heart of the people who had to play against teams with Sam Darnold, Alvin Kamara, Justin Jefferson, and Derek Carr, because none of you survived. Octavia might be the only one. But we'll see y'all next week. Appreciate y'all.